Welcome to the Entrepreneurial CEO Podcast, where we dive into the real stories behind building and scaling a business. Each episode, we sit down with CEOs, founders, and leaders to uncover hard-won lessons in leadership, systems, and team building. Listen in each week to learn directly from real business leaders who have been in your shoes, had success, made the mistakes, and all of the messiness that comes with building a business. If you're ready to learn from real-world leaders and gain insights you can apply today, you're in the right place. So let's get started. Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome back to the show. Today's guest is Dr. Jeremy Weisz, a chiropractor turned entrepreneur, interesting journey, and the co-founder of Rise 25. Jeremy's been in the podcasting game way longer than Mike and I, since the early days, launching Inspired Insider back in 2010. And he's worked with some of the biggest names in B2B. Through Rise 25, he helps companies build high-trust relationships and grow revenue using podcasting as a strategic platform. Jeremy's got a unique blend of curiosity, business, and a super interesting story. And we're excited to dig into it today. He's helped hundreds of founders grow their brands and networks. And so, again, thank you so much for your time and welcome to the show.
I love the term high trust relationships. That's a great one. Yeah, totally.
Love it. All right. Well, we want to learn more about it. But before I start asking you a ton of questions, maybe just give the audience a little, I talked about your background, maybe talk about what Rise 25 is and what you guys do.
Yeah. So Rise 25, we help businesses build amazing relationships. And we do that by helping them launch and run a podcast. All right. So we do everything related to, we are an easy button for a company to launch and just continuously run the podcast. We also do a gifting program for companies as well. So that just, again, it's all about, like you said, building amazing relationships. And so people give us a list of their clients and partners, and we'll, basically send them, I personally like to get food. So we send them food related products, maybe every few months for years to come. So that's what we do. And we talk about just, my philosophy is always just give as much as humanly possible to people and not necessarily expect anything in return. And good things will happen.
That's cool.
Wow.
Okay. I didn't know that side of Rise 25. I mean, I can attest in my experience that works incredibly well from an account management and sales perspective. I mean, that's obviously, I'm thinking about it in terms of ROI, but I've seen that, right? Where you take care of your accounts and your clients and your customers. And I've even seen it from a sales perspective in terms of like booking meetings and just getting people on the phone.
We have seen that. It's funny because I had a conversation a few months ago with a company, and they're like, yeah, they wanted to send to like 300 or 400 prospects a month. And I said, that's great. We could definitely do that. What about your clients and partners too? And they're like, yeah, we just want to send our prospects. So I'm like, okay. I mean, for me, it seems like more of a no-brainer to send to the people who already know, love, and trust you. But
yes,
they wanted to, get ahead of it and send to people ahead of a conference, or just as kind of send some things that put in their funnel where they're following up with an email and phone call.
I think the reason why it's so crowded now, there's so many people doing B2B sales, email boxes are flooded, you're getting tons of DMs. And so it's harder to stand out. So if you send something physical that they can touch, it helps to stand out.
Totally.
You're so right. It's just, I've had this on my mind for years, Andrew. Something that we should do. We got to get back to that. I mean, I'm sure you probably know John Rulin or knew John Rulin.
Totally. Yeah. Unfortunately, he passed. I just re-released the episode I did with him on my podcast, Inspired Insider, just to honor him and what he does and his philosophy and what an amazing human being. So yeah, totally.
Yeah, he was
that
the
the
same.
person from Giftology?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We spent some time together out here in Orange County when he came out here to speak. So yeah, sad, tragic. But yeah, what a book. And even when you get the book, he sent the book in this incredible package. The little like leatherette bag. I mean, it was great.
Makes a
Anyways,
difference.
it does. It's a great, I didn't know you did that. Okay, that makes a lot of sense though. So I
Jeremy,
guess we're going to be getting a gift, Andrew.
we'll see. We'll see. Let's talk about your background, man. You have an interesting background and journey, starting as a chiropractor and now Rise 25, working with B2B podcasts. How did that evolve?
Yeah, so my background, like you said, I studied biochemistry at Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin-Madison, and I went on to become a chiropractor. When I was young, my dad had really bad neck pain and nothing was helping. Finally, he went to a chiropractor, and after a few months, he was almost 100% better. And I saw him go through that journey when I was young in junior high school. And so I decided, I really was into health and still am. And so I said, well, I think that's maybe something I want to do. So I went and visited the chiropractor that he went to and shadowed them. And I just really saw people come in with a frown and leave with a smile. And I saw that's something I wanted to do. So I ended up working for that chiropractor in high school and then going on to chiropractic school. And I had my own practice, which I exited after 15 years. But like you mentioned, I started podcasting right at this point in time, like over 15 years ago. And at that time, there weren't many, I don't even know what people were even calling it a podcast, but people were coming to me at that point. And by the way, my podcast was not about health related topics. I just geek out, just like both of you, on talking with entrepreneurs, founders, hearing their journey. And so I was able to get some really interesting guests, like early on, like the founder of P90X and RX Bar and some others. And so people started coming to me, asking me to help them with the strategy. And since I had a practice, I couldn't do all of the stuff around it. So I needed to build up a team around it. And so people started asking me to help them basically launch and run their podcast. So by accident, I didn't set out to be like, I want to start a separate business where I help people run podcasts. It just, people were coming to me and I said yes. And it grew into a separate business on accident. And then I met my business partner, John Corcoran, through podcasting. And probably you guys could attest to this. I say this kind of tongue in cheek, but like almost everything good in my life tracks back to a podcast. I've just made some amazing relationships. No, I did not meet my wife on a podcast, but almost if you look at my best friends, I've gone to people's weddings. I go on family vacations with people. I met my business partner through the guests and through people introducing me through the podcast.
That's pretty amazing.
I thought that was fascinating. Like, I love what you talk about that, about how you're building relationships. It's business. I mean, there's just so many aspects of it, which I hadn't thought about when we started this podcast, Andrew. I didn't think about some of the great friends. I mean, I was in Oaxaca, Mexico, and someone was like, hey, bro, you guys contacted me about jumping on your podcast. I'm like, dude, let's go. And he's like, I'm looking forward to it. It's pretty cool.
100%.
I mean, it's a great form of networking, right? Like you're able to have these great conversations with people as opposed to just like through an email or through a LinkedIn DM. And it's tougher to meet people in person these days. So, but
I mean, it goes back to the
day.
philosophy of like giving, right? I mean, when you have someone on, like you're having me on, when I have people on, it's like you are inviting them into your house almost like to dinner. And then after that, it could go across all the podcast channels. Sometimes people create a blog post out of it, social media out of it. And it's like a total give to that individual to share their thought leadership.
Yeah. I think it's great. And we get to hear we get to learn, selfishly, we get to learn from so many amazing people like you and then share with our community and our audience, right? We have so many business leaders in our community and they get to learn. So it just like cycles on and on. It's great. I think it's fascinating because you were doing it, you said 15 years ago. That was before podcasting blew up. So, you were early, which is awesome.
Yeah.
How do
Can I
you
ask a quick question?
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
A quick question, just to interject. I think this is right, because our podcast, is about the entrepreneurial CEO. And what that means, it's like we all as entrepreneurs are building businesses. And at some point we're like, we can put it on our back for a while, but then eventually you're like, okay, wait a second. I need to move from this vision, passion, energy of the entrepreneur to the systematic approach to scaling a business that a CEO would have. Do you remember that moment when you realized, okay, we've got something here. Let's take it to where we really want to take it. And what was that moment and what'd you do about it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And for me, early on, it was a force function because I was seeing patients throughout the day. So I needed to put people and systems in place, or because there was literally no chance I was going to be able to do it all. And so, I don't know if there was an exact moment, but I remember there's multiple moments going on because my schedule was kind of crazy. I'd be seeing, patients from like, I may be doing the podcast stuff early on from like 7 to 9:30, and then I was seeing patients from 9:30 to 12:30, and then I was doing podcast stuff from 12:30 to 2:30, and then I was seeing patients from 2:30 to 6:30, and then I was, working till maybe 8:30, and then maybe sometimes 11 p.m. to 2:30 a.m. on all the podcast stuff. That's not sustainable. But I started to put people in place, and for me, like I think I'm like in our company, I guess the SOP police. Okay, so like I am all about making sure there is a process for everything, because and also it creates the best quality product and experience for someone too. And so I remember being in with a patient, and then in between going and kind of switching gears in my brain and getting on with my early team from the podcast perspective. And I was just recording videos, right? And then we were creating SOPs out of them because I needed to get everything out of my head. Eventually, we, one of the biggest breakthroughs, I think, for our business and for our team was actually when we started using Sweet Process. If people haven't known, I mean, you could use a lot of things, but we love Sweet Process to document all the tasks. It makes it very searchable. And we have this like centralized database of everything we need. It also makes it easy for other people to create SOPs. So it doesn't just rely on me, right? And so that was a big breakthrough where, okay, everyone could find something and also go, hey, go figure it out and create an SOP, and then we'll review it. But it was, you hit it on the head. It was creating those SOPs so that we could hand it off to someone and they could do it exactly the same way I did it, or the way someone else did it.
Get your business out of your head. I like the way you said that.
Yeah. 100%.
That's good.
And then empowering your team to do it, which I think is important too. So it doesn't all fall on you. Hey, you find something that needs to be fixed, go fix it and document it so that we can take a look at it. I think that's super important.
Yeah, Andrew, I think a lot of companies miss that. A lot of companies miss we think about it as the CEO, especially in EO. We see a lot of that. The guys are like, we want to like systemize the business, work on the business, but we sometimes neglect that we have teams of managers that are actually running the business that need to be trained in how to actually be a manager and run a business. So,
and Mike, it's funny because, so we started having these intervention meetings. Okay. And the intervention meeting was the intervention of me, by the way.
that's great.
And John, my business partner, is like, listen, you're trying to do too much, and let's make a list of all the stuff you're doing and let's start getting stuff off your plate. And that's what we did. Is every Friday we do an intervention meeting, and the beginning part was easy. It was like, okay, what do you not like doing and you're not great at? And then it started as we whittled that list down, it started getting to, well, I do like doing that. But so it got to, what should you not be doing, but you do like doing? And that stuff I was kind of like white knuckling a little bit, right? And I'm like, well, I like doing that. He's like, yeah, I get it, but you shouldn't be doing it, right?
Yeah.
And so it was just for us slowly taking those things off of my plate. And come to think of it, now that I'm saying this, why didn't we have an intervention meeting up for him? But it was just me that we were doing the intervention meeting for. But that process helped us meeting regularly from an accountability perspective and just taking stuff off. And then what we would do is record an SOP, use Sweet Process, have the team document it and put it in there.
Andrew, we're doing that, dude. We're gonna do that meeting for each. We're gonna have an intervention. I'm having one for you. You're having one for me.
I think that's smart. When you're telling that story, what stood out to me is the importance of a co-founder or a partner when you're starting a business. Because I love that your co-founder was like, "Hey, I know you like this, but you have too much on your plate. Or I know you like doing this, but you shouldn't be doing it." Right? He's basically not calling you out, but
Yeah.
hey, let's build this better.
It was a conversation, it opens us up to be like, listen, you have the authority to be like, you shouldn't be doing, like, it was a specific conversation. So it wasn't like coming out of the blue, like, hey, Jeremy, we need to talk. It was like, that was just the scheduled meeting. And he's like, listen, and allowed us to be open of like, I don't think you should be doing this. Right.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
That's cool.
I had a business partner for a long time, and he would call me the no guy because similarly, he wanted to do a million things. I'm like, look, man, we can't do this, or we shouldn't be doing this. And so I think it's really powerful to have those co-founders and business partners. It's really helpful when starting a business.
Jeremy, I can't help but laugh. I was in forum with his business partner back in the day. And yeah, like he needed a no guy, and Andrew's a no guy. In fact,
He totally needed
actually
because he wanted to chase
Is it
every
because
opportunity.
he was the visionary and you were the integrator, or
Yes.
how? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because usually that's how it goes, right? Like John, my business partner, is kind of like more visionary. I'm kind of more operational integrator, and I feel like I'm like, okay, can we get back to like what we were talking about here? Now, there's a good thing. I mean, it takes us into exploring new things, but also I felt like I'm that person too, Andrew, so I could relate.
Well, look, and you have to. I think it's always interesting as entrepreneurs because you have to be disciplined enough to focus, right, and say no to lots of things, but also be wise enough and smart enough to understand when it's time to pivot, right? So you saw this podcasting business come out of nowhere, right? It was something that just organically happened, and you said, "Okay, this is cool. Let's dive into this." You could have said, "No, this is not our focus," but you dove into it, right? So you have to have the ability to do both.
Yeah.
So you talked about we talk about process and structure and accountability and repeatability at MAP a lot. You talked about two so far. You had the intervention meeting. What other systems and you talked about SOPs. Do you have any other systems or process that you guys use internally to help you operate efficiently or scale?
Yeah, that's a good question. So like, kind of like, I guess when I look at our tech stack, right, that's what I think of when you ask me the question. And, right now we use ClickUp from a project management perspective. We used to use Asana. We kind of, I think, grew out of Asana because of just the way we were using it. Asana was great for many reasons, but we use a lot of kind of forms and other things, and we just found ClickUp to be better. So the way we set everything up is if it isn't in ClickUp, and it doesn't happen, right? Because ClickUp is a project management tool, if people don't know. I mean, there's lots of tools out there. People use Monday, people use Asana, people use a variety of things. But if it's not in ClickUp, it didn't happen. Like we use Slack from a communication perspective. So that's helped cut down, like we don't want internal emails at all, right? Okay. And so, but what happens is people will start asking people to do things in Slack, and we're like, hey, it's got to be in ClickUp because ClickUp obviously assigns it to someone and it has a specific date. Mm-hmm. So the way we use it is if there's anything we need to do, it's mapped out in ClickUp, and then each ClickUp task needs to have a corresponding suite process link. Mm. So like if I, assign something to you, Andrew, I'm like, okay, go post this on this person's website. We could assign it to anyone. I mean, not anyone, but like they can go, okay, great. Here's the suite process link of that exact SOP, pull it up as a checklist and do it. So that's what we do. Everything is in ClickUp. Everything that we need to do is in ClickUp, and then it has a suite process link with it. And we use Slack, obviously, from internal communication perspective. And the way we set that up is we have, for each client, we have a Slack channel, right? So it stays organized. But in the end, if someone asks someone to do something, it needs to go into ClickUp. We do use Teamwork Desk from like a centralized email desk perspective, which we found to be huge because we respond to emails and have people womened or manned it for 22 hours a day. So we have shifts of like a couple people every 4 to 5 hours so that we cover the inbox. And that goes into Teamwork Desk. So for me, customer service is paramount. Like when I was a chiropractor, it was like answer the phone within a ring.
Yeah.
Because when it rings once on our end, it's already rung maybe 2 or 3 times on the other person's end before it rings in the business. So I'm always about speed and customer support. And that's how we are with, all right, we want to get back to someone within 10 minutes. That's kind of ideal. And we track that KPI. We have every Monday, we have a KPIs meeting where basically our team will pluck individual random tickets from each of the customer support people, and we look and see how fast are they responding to it. So Teamwork Desk we use from that end, and one of the best tools I love. They should be paying me, because I mention them all the time. But Text Expander is one of my favorite tools. Text Expander is like a desktop app where you type in a short code and then you can have these pre-planned messages. So think of like Gmail's like canned responses, except for Text Expander. You can do it across LinkedIn. You could do it across social. You could do it across your email. You could do it across Slack. And it's the best $3 I spend a month. And I make intros a lot because I may make 5 to 20 introductions per day. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And I looked and see, and it's a nice, thorough introduction, right? Like Andrew, and like all of your bios there. And I'm like, okay, I have a Text Expander. So it's like, intro, your first name, last name. And that spits out this like nice bio. And I was thinking if I were to make 5 to 20, if I made 20 introductions in a day, it would take me like 5 hours, like typing everything out. But because of Text Expander, it takes me 30 seconds, maybe 10 seconds. I just type in the short code, introduce the 2 people, and connect them. So that's another tool we use. There's so many more. I mean, we use Active Campaign a lot for from a pipeline perspective and deal. We used to use Pipedrive, but we were using like 1% of it. So we switched to Active Campaign so we can send constant emails, but we also use it from like a pipeline deal flow perspective as well. And we do have meetings on that like 3 times a week just to like keep it refreshed.
That's
interesting.
I
Is that
like
like
those decks. I'm going to check out Text Expander. That sounds pretty cool.
Oh yeah, dude, I love that. I totally know what you're talking about. And within EO and YPO, it's constant. The introductions, and you're like, it takes so long.
Yeah.
That's great. Is that last one you said active?
Yeah, Active
Campaign. Is that like a replacement for HubSpot?
It's similar. Yeah.
Similar?
Yeah, I mean, I've not used HubSpot. I've heard that's very robust, right? I know HubSpot, and Andrew, sounds like you're familiar with it. From what people have told me, it's like it tracks across like all channels, so it's a little bit more robust. Active Campaign, I actually had the founder on the podcast, and it's really like good at doing email blasts or email follow, like a campaign of follow-up messages.
Yeah.
So since we have like 30,000 emails on our list, we needed a way to manage. So we were using Infusionsoft, but it was just, again, that was more robust than we needed. So we moved everything to Active Campaign where we can set up, kind of email flows, but they also have this deal function where we basically can set that up. So that's not like why people use it. Obviously, Pipedrive is literally for the deal flow, whereas Active Campaign, they have that feature, but it's mostly for sending out emails.
Yeah, they have a good platform. I've used it too. I really like their automation feature, the different workflows you can build. It's really
exactly.
Cool. You wouldn't need both, Mike. You'd do one or the other.
One or the other. Yeah, I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. You have a good tech stack. What I'm listening to you say, you're paying attention to all the details. The number of phone rings, the things that are important to your downstream customers. You're paying really close attention, which is super important. You talked about the KPI meeting. What are we call them vital factors? What are you what are the most important ones that you're tracking?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we are going through based on our core values. Like one of our core values is quick, amazing service, right? And so we kind of track on our core values, and one of them, obviously, we're plucking tickets from Teamwork Desk to see how quick are we responding. The next is, okay, now we're responding quickly, but how fast are we actually answering their question, right? Because you could get back to people quickly and maybe you're not answering their question right away either, right? So we're looking at that. But Teamwork Desk, we found, didn't have amazing metrics, so we kind of had to pluck them ourselves. We were doing it. The other thing we track is, it's the indicators, and the indicators for us are how many new people are added. We look at kind of the pipeline, how many new people are added to the active campaign. And then also our process, kind of our discovery process, we're looking at how do we predict whether it's from a revenue perspective or from a hiring perspective. So it goes from, there's a deal flow in active campaign, and for us, the discovery process is after the discovery call, we do a full roadmap, a 6 to 12 month plan for someone on, the strategy and everything they need to run their podcast or launch their podcast. That roadmap is a paid roadmap. And so once someone pays for that roadmap, they go into a ClickUp funnel, right? Or ClickUp pipeline. And so we are looking at how many people are in each phase of that. So we know, so we're staffing up, right? And so that roadmap sessions, there's 3, right? As of this point, if someone's listening, there's 3 1-hour sessions to it. And so there's different things like, who's in the first session, who's in the second session, who's in the third session. And then after that third session, if it's a fit to work with us, we'll create a customized proposal, and then who we create in the proposal for. So we can see kind of who are in these phases to see, okay, from an onboarding perspective, in a launch perspective, what are we looking at, right? And so we are tracking those phases, how many people we added new to active campaign, how many are in each of the phases of the pipeline and ClickUp, so we can kind of plan properly, right? So those are a few things. It's just so we can kind of stay ahead. And we were thinking, if we had no other information about the company and just this, like, what would we do differently? How would we manage it based on it? And that's, it takes 10 minutes, on a Monday, and we have 2 team members kind of put everything together.
Yep.
Do you have that pipeline meeting? I thought I heard something about a meeting you're having 3 times a week. What's that meeting?
Yeah. So we have a pipeline meeting where there's 4 of us on the meeting, and that's who's in the active campaign pipeline, meaning we have a referral pipeline, and then we have a, potential client pipeline. The referral pipeline in each of these phases, Mike, the way we think of the phases are like, how do we give as much as humanly possible to these people? And these are the kind of the phases. So like when we look at the referral pipeline, once a week is for the referral pipeline, meaning, just staying in touch with our partners and champions, right? And the pipeline could be like, referred someone and is a current client, referred someone, the person's a past client. So did we, are they on the gift camp? So it's a constant reminder. Are they on our gift campaign that we're sending to them? Did we send them? Because we do, for any referrals, we do lifetime ongoing referral commissions. So we go, did we send them a direct deposit this month? Did we feature them? We do a physical newsletter. If you could see this, a physical newsletter. Did we include them as an insert in our physical newsletter at some point? Did we feature them on the podcast at some point? So it's like all these phases are really just ways we can give to these relationships, and that's kind of what they are. And so, in active campaign or any pipeline, we can go, let's say I just sent you an email today, Mike, or we sent you a gift. We'll create we have someone on the meeting who basically will go, okay, set something in 4 months from now to check in. What else could we do for Mike in 4 months? And so there's always a follow-up task for us to revisit. So we're not looking at the whole pipeline every day. We're only looking at the tasks that are assigned for that particular day or week to go through. You know what I mean? So maybe, we could get in and out in a half hour.
I love that. And so like, what's it like? So when you send somebody a referral partner or someone that's referred you and you send them a little gift, like what's the note look like? Is
So actually it's funny. So we do this for my wife's practice. My wife's a child psychologist.
Mhm.
And so this is like, it basically has our, branding. It says her branding on it. And then it has a tip. Like we always like to include some kind of educational tip on there. And then just something funny about the particular gift, right? And this is green tea. But it's got, this is what it is. Just like a piece of
That's
stationery.
great.
And,
Wow. Now, how do you, now obviously that's in your SOP and what's the platform you use again?
sweet process.
Sweet process. And then you have somebody that's specifically that's all they do is manage this.
A couple people. Yeah.
Okay. It's a
Yeah.
big
And then we
process.
have a meeting just to review it because like we may get a new partner and like we need to make sure that the SOPs followed to enter them into sending them something.
Yeah.
So, and there's like, who knows, like in that SOP, there could be like 17 steps just to enter them in to get something before they even get sent anything.
It's so smart. I mean, Map's business has thrived on referrals too, and you have to take care of them, right? You got to stay in touch. You got to take care of them, make sure they feel valued and appreciated. And so it's smart you put that around there. One of the questions I had, I love that you have so many SOPs and you're very heavy on that. You're very heavy on the details, the KPIs. At Map, we always talk about turning it into action. How do you ensure that? Because it's your people that have to implement all these things, right? How do you ensure that they're getting the information development, like they're able to execute at the level that you need to drive your business?
Yeah. So sometimes we use ClickUp for that. So it has to be assigned to someone with a date and a person, sometimes two people. And so that's the key. Sometimes we set up forms in ClickUp for that. So like, let's say there's a referral partner, the thing that will trigger that, right, which is a good question, which is, okay, if it's on a meeting and we're like, okay, we need to enter this person in, right, we will, there's an active campaign task that says, okay, follow up. And then two, okay, if we need to send them a gift, it needs to be entered into ClickUp. And then that triggers like a slew of tasks and that are connected to different suite processes. So it has to be entered into ClickUp, right? That could be entered in manually. We create a lot of forms. So you basically just have to enter in the person's name, the website, and then basically when you hit submit on the form, it may create like 10 different, there may be 10 different things that need to happen there. So that automatically we set that up. I don't want to get too, granular with ClickUp. It says, and everything like that, but it can, basically creating that form can set off a slew of assigning it to 10 different people, each with a different task with the suite process associated with it. That's why we moved from Asana to ClickUp, because the form functions in ClickUp were really good, where you can just fill it out and then it basically triggers and assigns it to everyone that needs to happen for. The other thing we do is we do have a project management meeting every day. I am not on that, but we do have like 6 team members on that. And if anything changes with someone's account, or if there's an issue with someone's account, even if it's not our fault, it goes on the PM board and needs to be discussed on, okay, how does the SOP change based on this? And, does it change? And also, is there an SOP for it? And how do we track back to avoiding that in the future? Obviously fixing whatever it is, but looking at the SOP, because it's like, well, something off in the SOP? Because we have found it's either a person problem or a process problem, right? And so if it's a process problem, like, well, there's a step missing. If it's a person problem, they just didn't follow the process, right? And so we have to kind of evaluate that. But yeah.
Quick question. So I remember, you know Vern Harnish, I'm sure, and he'd always talk about the faster you pulse, the faster you can change and move and make adjustments. I love that you are having all these different check-in points that are like structured, probably super efficient, tight agendas. I love that you track back to SOPs. My question is this: there's two divisions to your business, right? You've got the gifting and you've got the podcasting. Do those meetings, are those two separate teams, or are they integrated into
They're
both, or both come
integrated. Yeah.
integrated? So you're having the same conversation, because I would imagine there's a huge overlap between your podcast clients and your gifting clients, correct?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. It's a great add-on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have never thought that those go together until you explained how they go together. Because really the podcast and the gifting, the missions are very similar of what you're trying to do. It's all about building trustworthy relationships. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry.
some people will use them for different purposes. Right? Like I said, like we like to send to our partners and clients, and some people, Andrew, as you mentioned, just literally want to only focus on prospects. So, but I mean, people could do both.
Right. Well,
Okay.
I mean, hey, where you start's not where you finish. So somebody might start with prospects and then weave in their clients after. Who knows, right?
Exactly.
It's good for both use cases. I've seen it. Okay, before we started the episode, we were talking about EO. You guys are both in EO. You both have a lot of experience with EO, and I know being in EO, you're surrounded by lots of high energy, high performing, successful entrepreneurs with great businesses. When you look at, and I'm curious for both of you because you've both been in here, but Jeremy, within EO, can you think of one challenge that still comes up a lot within the forums, within the groups that people have with leadership or scaling their teams?
There's a lot of issues. I don't know if you, it's like every day. I think for me, it's, I'll just speak for myself. It's getting comfortable with basically, not being uncomfortable, but, Mike, as you know, there's like a clear the air, right? And I'm really bad. I'm a people pleaser and I don't like to ruffle feathers. For me, Andrew. And so like, I can be too nice, people tell me. But I also am very results oriented. And I say that because that's just my issue, right? I mean, other people in my forum, and this is like not their issue at all, right? They could just bluntly tell you exactly what they're thinking. If something's bothering them, they bring it up. So I've had to work on that with myself, which is just to at least clear the air. And what clear the air means, if anyone's listening, is just like air if you have an issue, even if it's small, so it doesn't build up. And so I'm our forum moderator now. So the first part of every meeting is like clear the air, whereas everyone wants to go around and look at everyone else in the eye and be like, I'm clear with you. Or if there's a small issue, so it doesn't fester, right? Because I have found that creates resentment if there's a small thing that builds and then I never said anything about it, but it's my own fault because I didn't say anything about it. So for me, it's getting better at just clearing the air with people. And it could be from a friendship perspective. It could be from a family member perspective, and just airing it out takes the weight off of the situation and also allows to handle it, right? Sometimes I'm like, oh, that's not a big deal. It could be a small thing. It's not a big deal. It will kind of work itself out over time, and then it doesn't, right? So I don't know, Mike, what your thoughts are on that, but that's for me personally.
By the way, you and I don't know if you know your disc score, if you've ever done a disc.
I've done Colby, but I don't know my disc. No, I've done it before. I don't remember.
You and I are similar, dude. Like I'm definitely more of the like people pleaser, but yet results oriented. That clearing exercise, I left a forum like 15 years ago during one of those clearing exercises. We were doing it with Sue Hesse, and I looked at the guy and go, I'm not clean with you, and I'm leaving the forum. And it was more of a core values thing. And eventually the forum broke up and it was pinpointed to that guy. But anyways, so yeah, it's a powerful and uncomfortable exercise, but you grow from it. But to answer your question, Andrew, what I see with most entrepreneurs, especially with NEO, is I'll say all of us, we struggle with saying no to things. And so we keep putting more, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. And what happens is, you're doing too many things. And so like when I look at what you're doing, Dr. Jeremy, when you've got it nailed down to your two man, I think from what I understand there's the two main pillars of your business, and you've got some things that drive it and so on and so forth. But most entrepreneurs just can't say no. And so then, since strategy is all about choices you make and decisions you make, they're not making decisions enough and deciding where they want to be great and where they want to be bad. So that's what I see, Andrew.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a client selection. Like for us, it's even if the service is what we do, we've had to get better at client selection, right? Because if they don't, like Mike, what you said, kind of maybe don't meet our core values, one of them is being super nice, right? And if they're treating our team not great, even via email, we have to make a decision. Is it going to stress the team out? Or is it worth working with the person? And sometimes people just have stuff going on. Like I remember as a chiropractor, people come in and I have to coach the front desk. It's like, listen, people are not mean. They're not angry at you. They're in pain, right? And so they may take it out on you because they're in the waiting room and talking to you, but just try and not take it personally. I read the 4 agreements or listen to it every year. And one of the 4 agreements is, and it's hard for me anyway, it's like, don't take anything personally because they're talking directly to me. So like, how do I not take it personally? But I'm like, listen, just think in the back of your mind, they're in pain and it's not personal to you. They're just mad, right? And so we have to decipher, okay, is this person just having a bad week, a bad day, something going on in their business, or is that just how they are too? So
yeah. I try to do with my kids, like my 18-year-old. I'm like, listen, he's like, I want to drive your car down. I'm like, well, here's the deal. I need you to read the 4 agreements and give me a quick book report. You've got a day to do it. I keep it in the living room.
Love it.
That's a good life lesson, man. Just what you just said, not taking things personally and trying to understand what people might be going through.
It's hard to do. I mean, they give examples in the book about like if you're on the highway and someone cuts you off and like some people's immediate reaction are to get mad and like, well, maybe someone's in the car and they're pregnant. Maybe they're late for their job. They're going to get fired. Maybe, what are the scenarios that has nothing to do with me,
Or they made a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. Maybe they didn't mean to. They just made a mistake.
I've done it. I've cut someone off and someone's like swearing at me. Like, I'm sorry. Like, the person was pissed at me. I'm like, it was total mistake.
Absolutely. Yep. And we tend to go towards the negative all the time instead of assuming the first thing should be, hey, it wasn't malicious. They didn't like, hey, screw that guy. I'm going to cut him off right now. But it's hard. It is hard. Okay. We've been going long here. I have 2 more questions for you. One, your grandfather is an incredible story. Holocaust survivor, which is amazing. And it has a huge impact and influence on you, your mindset, your motivation. I would love to hear more about that. How does that legacy shape, your business now, how you lead, and just how you live your life?
Yeah. So and this kind of tracks back to podcasting in a way because my grandfather, who was a Holocaust survivor, the Steven Spielberg Holocaust Foundation interviewed my grandfather. It's on inspiredinsider.com on my About page. And his legacy lives on because of that interview that they did. And so I look at what you guys are doing and anyone who's podcasting it's not just business. It is actually helping people leave a legacy. And in case in point, John Ruhlin, amazing human being. I still have that interview to remember him, to learn from him. We just republished it. And it is a legacy. And so that interview, I, think about and watch, and I have the short version for, on the page, and then there's a longer hour and 12-minute version. But what I remember is just, what he used to say to me always is, what'd you accomplish today? It's like something simple, but he would ask me every day, basically like, crazy things. And that keeps me grounded in perspective. Like, and whenever I hear myself in my internal head complaining about anything or thinking about like, listen, Jeremy, not that you don't have a right to complain like I do, but it's like, did they burn the building and make your whole family flee and live in the woods for 3 weeks, and then you were captured and get, really tortured and basically not fed, and half, 80% of your family was killed. Okay, like, it's not such a bad thing, right? And so it really gives me perspective on life. And, for me, if someone's like, oh, it's urgent, I'm like, okay. Or it's an emergency, I'm like, okay. If it's a health related thing with someone, it's an emergency. If it's not, then I'm sorry, like, it's not like an emergency to drop everything. Maybe it's an emergency to them, but it's just keeping perspective. And so I put a lot of pressure on myself because of that. And what do I accomplish every day is, try and get as much accomplished as I can, because, he basically, and there's stories in his journey where he just gave up. Like, he just, during one of the death marches, I can't even visualize what it was, right? It was probably freezing out. They didn't have a lot of clothes. They weren't eating. And he just collapsed on the ground. And he's like, I'm giving up, at this point. And people just did not let him. They just picked him up and carried him and would not let him gift up. And then they brought him eventually to the whatever infirm, and he got better. And at that point, he decided, I'm going to survive. Like, at one point he just gave up, though. He just laid down. He said he just laid down in the field. I'm like, I'm not going any further here. And so, but the people rallied around him, and that he decided, right? And that's the other thing I think of. He just decided at that point. And I'm sure, again, it's luck. A lot of it is luck too. But he decided, at least in his will, he wasn't going to give up again, and he was going to get through there. And because of that, because of his persistence and perseverance, I wouldn't be here, right? I would not be here today. So, I tend to be persistent and persevere in a nice way, but just thinking of what he went through.
That's pretty incredible.
Thank you for sharing that, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah. That's pretty incredible. Okay, I promise I have one more question. If you go back and give yourself one piece of advice, you've been through a lot when you're starting your businesses. It could be anything. Something to save you time, stress, energy, failure. What would it be?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I'm going to say just proactively find specific mentors, right? For me, that has been when we talk about small hinges that swing big doors, it's, for me, always goes back to mentors. Who's done what I want to do, right? And they have a roadmap to do it because they've done it before. Okay. And so for me, it's just, again, like, I kind of intuitively know these things, but like, I wasn't thinking like that. I wasn't thinking, okay, I have a health challenge. I need to go to someone who does exactly this. And this is from a young age. Like, I probably, and I did a little bit in the chiropractic realm, but just finding mentors in different aspects. So, like, there's business mentors, there's spiritual mentors, there's fitness mentors, and just looking at them differently and finding those particular mentors. And also sometimes taking advice from people who hadn't done it, and maybe it's someone I trusted. And this comes from like an EO thing, Andrew, you were asking, and Mike, you appreciate this. Like, in EO, what I love about it is it comes from a gestalt, like, experience share. And so I've been in groups where people are just saying, well, I think, or whatever. It's like, the people in EO, they're sharing, here's my experience, take what you want from it, but they're sharing their specific personal experience with it. And sometimes I took advice from people who it sounded good, but they hadn't experienced it. It wasn't coming from their experience or roadmap. It's just they heard it or read it or whatever it is, or that was their thought. So really the mentorship, and then just taking advice from people who have lived it.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. I think I've experienced that myself, the power of mentors. and having those people around you to teach from their experience. I think a lot of people are afraid to ask people to be their mentor or for help and guidance. And I think a lot of people want to help, maybe not everybody,
Totally.
but a lot of people do want to share their experiences and help. Yeah.
Andrew, you're right on. There's more people willing to give help than there are people willing to ask for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
And
now platforms like this allow it to be easier. We can meet mentors from around the world and not have to meet them for coffee, although that's nice. Well, cool. Jeremy, thank you so much. This has been great. Really appreciate you sharing your time with us. Before we wrap, where can people go to learn more about Rise 25 or about you?
Yeah, I mean, people can check out my podcast, Inspired Insider. If you search podcast, we have lots of free episodes on all the questions we've gotten around podcasting. And then rise25.com is the website if people have questions about anything. But, we have a lot of great content on Inspired Insider. So either way, check it out and reach out to me on LinkedIn. If you hear this, I'm very active on LinkedIn too.
Love it.
All right.
Jeremy, this has been great. This is one of those, every once in a while you do a podcast where you're like, okay, we could just keep going for another hour. You're a true pro, and you had something I have to tell you. This is the first podcast where I started taking notes. And now I've got, while we were talking, I've got all these different sections of notes that I'm just going to keep doing now from now on. But today you were saying so much great stuff that I was like, I got to take notes on this. So thank you, Jeremy.
Well, it's a big honor coming from both of you, right? Because you are very experienced in the podcast and also in business. So it means a lot for you to have me on.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Pleasure is ours. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you again. Thank you everybody for listening, and we will see you next time.